We've been building things the same way for the last century. And the problem with that is that we're not getting better. We're not making buildings more affordable. We're not making buildings more sustainable. We're making small advances in that way, but we need a revolution. And the revolution is going to come in the same way that we've seen other revolutions in other industries. So just as Amazon revolutionized the way retail worked, but didn't come from retail in the first place, they came from outside retail. And just as Airbnb didn't come from the hotel industry, but is revolutionizing that industry, or Uber is doing the same to taxis, we're going to see those same sorts of phenomenon happen in construction. People coming from outside, revisiting the way we deliver the building model to make it more affordable, more sustainable, and more broad-reaching around the world. That's exciting, and that's going to happen because we're working in these new materials, bringing wood products into tall wood buildings, into advanced manufacturing processes to make really affordable, sustainable solutions for the future. That's an exciting time, and that's where we are right now. A tree is such an amazingly high-tech thing, but we think of it as a low-tech thing, and it's the complexity of the way the fiber works. We take this stick of wood that we think of as pretty low-tech, when in reality it's loaded with this incredible strength to weight, stronger than steel if you consider it, in its strength to weight. And then we glue it together and we turn it into an advanced product. That advanced product then can be cut on high-tech cutting machines that go from a computer drawing that I make in the architecture studio right onto the floor of a manufacturing facility, cutting it with computer-aided cutting tools, and then turn that into a highly accurate product that gets assembled like a Lego block into the construction site. That's the revolution that we're in, is we're moving from things being unsophisticated sticks into highly sophisticated products, still using wood, and now we're finally making the greatest advantage of natural products and the inherent technology that Mother Nature has already given us. When you take a single piece of wood, it's strong. It's strong along its length, but not so much across its width. So we all know the phenomenon of bending something that wants to break. The way we start to change that is by gluing pieces of wood together. As we do that, the fibers misalign or reorient in different directions. And by doing that, by crossing the fibers of different pieces of wood and gluing them together, we all of a sudden make something incredibly strong. So these panels that we're talking about can be, 3 meters wide and 6 meters or 9 meters long or even longer. And we lift these panels of various thicknesses up into a building environment. And now instead of talking about these little pieces, we're talking about giant pieces, which allow buildings to go from wood buildings being thought of as pretty small into wood buildings being able to be very, very large and very, very powerful and very, very strong. We're developing buildings around the world, as are other architects. We've been fortunate enough to have built the first tall wood building in North America, which is the Wood Innovation Design Center that we built a few years ago in British Columbia. It was a prototype building, working well outside the boundaries of modern building codes, but working with the same intentions of how these buildings are safe. That building became a building block for the next one, which was a building another firm did to build at University of British Columbia that became the tallest in the world. We're now doing a building in Paris that's going to be even taller. We have projects in Chicago, in New York, in Minneapolis that we just finished, a new one in Portland we're working on. These projects in each case are sort of the stepping stones, getting taller and taller and taller and demonstrating what really is possible. Our hope is that we see 30 and 40-story tall wood buildings in the very near future, either by our firm or by others. But that kind of leap forward in height will change the public's perception of what's possible, and we'll see a lot more of these buildings populate the earth afterwards. The opportunity is for us to take something that's grown by the power of the sun and turn it into an advanced product that we then sell and put into an advanced building. That building sequesters carbon for the long run, so we've got this huge carbon benefit, but there's also this huge economic benefit. We're connecting the dots from the time we plant a tree all the way through to the end game of when we build the building, and we're reducing the length of time it takes to build a building such that it lowers the cost of the building and makes these buildings more affordable. We're also able to take it into a factory and build much of it, meaning it's more accurate, it's safer, it has less waste, and ultimately reduces the cost to make our buildings more affordable. These are all huge game changers for the future of the building industry and for society in general. Canada has an opportunity to be a huge leader in this, so does the US. And it's time for us to engage in that kind of innovation that will lead to new business opportunity, new economic opportunity, and new affordability for our citizens. Big data to me is what we have to engage in the building industry. So this is the ability to start to watch a product from the tree, registering as a product all the way through into manufacturing and into the built building, where we can start to calculate how it's performing structurally, how it's performing environmentally, how it's performing as part of a cohesive system. What is that system of a building doing from an energy usage point of view? How are users using it? We're in a digitally connected age, and that relates to everything around us except for buildings. We're now adding those digital connections to be able to collect data from buildings so that each time we build a building, we have a chance to make that building a better building in the future and improve on it. Big data is going to change the way we design buildings and the way we make buildings in the future. And we need to start developing industries that help us actually use data to improve the building industry. And we're just scratching the surface, but in tall wood buildings, it's very clear how that path is going to make a difference to the quality of the buildings in the future. At the end of the day, these buildings happen because smart people say this is important, and I'm going to invest and put energy towards making this happen from a political point of view. At the end of the day, these buildings are a good use of our resource. They're sustainable. They're environmentally sound if we harvest our forest responsibly and properly, and they are going to be a pathway to affordable housing. That's the perfect alignment of values within almost any political spectrum. If we can embrace those values through our political voice, we can move the ball much quicker and much more forward to invest in these technologies. Otherwise, we're stuck in a building code that has never imagined this new way to build. It never has planned for it, and therefore it will take 8, 9, 10 years before it catches up with the kind of innovations we're doing. We need political will to leapfrog forward and say we can't wait for this sluggish sort of process to go through with the building code change. We need political will to say, nope, these ideas make sense, the science makes sense, let's allow these ideas, these innovations to make a difference such that Canada, because I'm a proud Canadian, can be a world leader in this discussion. Look, at the end of the day, these buildings must be safe. There's nothing we do in making a building. As an architect, that is my #1 responsibility. It has to be safe to the people that use it, the people that walk beneath the building, and for the fire department that walks through that building and fights the fire. These people are here to save our lives, and they need to be protected and feel comfortable with these buildings. There is a path to helping them feel very comfortable and engage them in the process that needs to happen more and more. And it's because they have the best experience to be able to inform how we build the buildings. These buildings are very fire safe. We understand the technology to do so. Let's get the fire marshals engaged in the conversation, and they are engaged. And I think they'll be very accepting of these buildings in the future. I think there's changes in the design industry where we have to work in a much more collaborative way with the construction industry, much more collaboratively than we have in the past. I think it's a change in the building development industry that has to understand what their motivations are around building this way, not only on making them more affordable, but more sustainable and more livable. These are big value changes that are important to that industry. I think there's changes in the construction industry and embracing the idea that more components of buildings are going to be built in the factory off-site. Off-site construction will change the way where people do their jobs. Instead of in the rain, they'll be in a factory. All of those are system changes that are going to happen as a result of tall wood buildings, and they're all positive changes that we need to accept they're coming and actually jump on board and develop technologies and opportunities around. This is a revolution. I think it's also an evolution. We're building on ideas of building tall wood buildings that in some respects existed 100 years ago. My office building in Vancouver is 7 stories tall, made of timber, and is 105 years old. Down the block from me in Vancouver, there's a 9-story tall wood building that's 100 years old. This is not an entirely new idea. We're picking up on the bones of what was done a century ago. We're evolving it, and we are in some respects turning it into a revolution as we start to think much higher. We're also using much more innovative technologies, much more sophisticated understanding of building sciences and fire sciences to make these buildings far more safe than they were a century ago. Am I a pioneer? I believe I'm a champion. I believe that at the end of the day, it's my duty as an architect to not just build one building for my client, it's to build a part of a bigger community of buildings. So I share what I know, because that's the difference I can make as an architect, not just making single projects, but helping others make better projects all over the world, not just in Canada.